Thank you very much, Mr. President, for the opportunity to address the Senate on this motion raised by the Honorable Senator Vero. Mr. President, the motion that is before the Senate, and forgive me for quoting it, is the need for legislative reform to enhance judicial independence and establish judicial autonomy in Trinidad and Tobago. Listening to the Honorable Senator, Independent Senator Vero, I came away with the impression that he was speaking to one thing, and in fact he used the word that there are two sides of the same coin, judicial autonomy. But the point is that the subject which he has put before this Senate has two important interrelated components. They are not two sides of the same coin. One, judicial independence, and two, judicial autonomy. I will deal first with judicial independence, Mr. President. This government does not need to reaffirm its commitment to the rule of law and the fundamentally important, pivotal role of the judiciary as a cornerstone of our democratic society in the constitutionally entrenched and guaranteed separation of powers between the Parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. And over several years now, this government has committed to working with the judiciary, providing plant and equipment and finance, and enabling much improvement in the administration of justice. A free and democratic society, Mr. President, cannot exist without the rule of law, and the rule of law requires an independent judiciary as its cornerstone. And this independence is upheld by the separation of powers, where the doctrine exists, as it does in our Constitution, and as the ample jurisprudence, of the decisions of our judiciary attest to. In my earlier remarks today, I referred to the February 16, 2000 report of Mr. Justice Telford Georges entitled Independence of the Judiciary, and briefly recorded its genesis. I adopt that record. The Honorable Mr. Justice Telford Georges, Mr. President, was a renowned Caribbean jurist. He served as Chief Justice of Tanzania, Chief Justice of the Bahamas, Chief Justice acting of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as being a former substantive Court of Appeal judge of Trinidad and Tobago. I record his stellar record, if only to suggest with respect that his views should command some respect. And in that report of February the 16th, 2000, he makes the simple points in relation, and these are at pages 7 and 14 of that report. He makes the simple points in relation to the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago as follows. Firstly, that the proper safeguards for judicial independence are not intended for the benefit of those holding the office of judge. Rather, they are intended to ensure that judges can fearlessly enforce the fundamental human rights and freedoms when called upon to do so. So that is the concept of judicial independence. Secondly, he says the elements which come together to create the concept of the independence of the judiciary are, and he listed three. One, substantive independence, meaning that in the discharge of his functions, a judge is subject to nothing but the law and the commands of his conscience. Mr. President, we undeniably have an independent judiciary in Trinidad and Tobago who are substantively independent by that definition of Mr. Justice Telford Georges. Secondly, internal judicial independence. Mr. Justice Georges tells us at page 14 of his report, which requires that the judge be independent from directives or pressures from his fellow judges regarding his adjudicative functions. Again, Mr. President, that too we undeniably have in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think that any judge will tell you that in the discharge of his functions, he is interfered with internally by other judges in delivering judgments according to law and his conscience. And then the third point that Justice Telford Georges makes, collective independence, which extends to the independence of the judiciary as a whole, as a corporate body, and is measured by its administrative independence. Mr. President, the short point is that our judiciary is independent beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I need say no more on that. I am not persuaded, going back to the title of the subject before us, that we require any legislative reform to enhance those first two pillars as defined by Mr. Justice Telford Georges. That brings me, Mr. President, to make a further point, that no discussion which intends meaningfully to examine judicial independence can avoid addressing the remarkable irony which we continue to shy away from. How can we be emphasizing judicial independence when we continue to cling to the skirts of the Privy Council instead of affirming our dignity and our confidence in ourselves as a people by making the Caribbean Court of Justice our final court of appeal? Prime Minister Basdio Panday was Prime Minister of this country which signed on to the treaty that created the Caribbean Court of Justice, and yet, having so signed and affirmed, as a nation we continue to be in breach. And on this motion, I call on the United National Congress opposition to join with this government to give us the vote to make the... to abolish the Privy Council and to install the Caribbean Court of Justice as our apex court. I remind this chamber of the 1828 remarks of Lord Brougham of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council when he stated, "It is obvious from the mere distance of those colonies and the immense variety of matters arising in them, foreign to our habits and beyond the scope of our knowledge, any judicial tribunal referring to in this country, referring to the United Kingdom, must of necessity be an extremely inadequate court of redress." They shout no. Yes. But that is the dictum of 1828, which continues, of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, which continues to be repeated. In 2003, Lord Hoffman of the Privy Council attended a dinner of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago in this country and repeated those words, repeated those thoughts. And again, Mr. Justice Michael de Labastide, the inaugural president of the Caribbean Court of Justice, has been making clarion calls for this country to complete its judicial independence by making the Caribbean Court of Justice our apex court. So we cannot duck that issue, and we cannot have a serious conversation about judicial independence without recognizing that point.
What?
The third pillar of Justice Telford Georges' report takes us to the point of judicial autonomy, and let us remind ourselves of that third pillar. Thank you, sir. Collective independence, which extends to the independence of the judiciary as a whole, as a corporate body, and is measured by its administrative independence. Mr. President, I accept that there are subjects for discussion on the transfer of financial authority, transfer of responsibility for human resources, capacity to manage the responsibility of autonomy, and necessary legislative amendments, which have to be engaged in. And the very document which Senator Vieira referred to, Framework for Enabling Judicial Autonomy in Trinidad and Tobago, June 2016, I have been provided with that document, and I am prepared to engage in the judiciary on behalf of the government as Attorney General to further that discussion. But I do not accept any suggestion that the independence of the judiciary in this country is wanting. And therefore, Mr. President, I end by saying that we have already committed ourselves as a government to the widest possible discussion on constitutional reform, and the very issue of judicial accountability is one of the issues being engaged in the report of the National Committee on Advisory Reform, and we will continue to engage that conversation. We will continue to engage that conversation.